What is up, Jordan? And how's it going, my fellow parents? And welcome to the podcast. Jordan, this isn't just any podcast, not just
This
any
is the
podcast.
Sean Donohue Show podcast.
Hey, this is our podcast, but I've got some awesome news for you. Can I tell you some great news?
Yeah, spread the good news, brother.
All right, so they got this thing on your phone, and it's like the Apple Podcast, and they have top charts. And we're a brand new podcast, only been around for a couple months. And I went on there, just be like, hey, what is my category? Parenting, family, kids. And I looked, and I was freaking out because we were number 52 on the charts.
52. That's great. I mean, for just starting out, are you kidding me?
I know. I was
That's
shocked.
good.
I was like, what is going on? I looked at the people in the top 50. And I was like, there's some legit podcasters in there. And then I looked at the other, because it's like top 200. And I looked at the other 150 that we were over, and I was like, wow, there's some great people, great podcasts in there. So, dude, we have amazing. Like a top 50 podcast.
That's amazing, dude. All because of like what you've done in your life and helping other people coming to us looking for answers. I hope we're helping. Obviously we are if they keep coming back.
Dude, I'm getting some really nice messages from people on Instagram, and guess what? So I went on there like a week later to look at the podcast charts, and we were at 40. I went a couple days after that, we were in the 30s. I went a couple of days after that, we were in the 20s. Then after that, we've been hanging out around like top 14 to top like 30, 40. Dude, isn't that incredible?
That's
like people
insane.
are literally enjoying this podcast, man.
That's great. I mean, some of the times I feel like I'm asking the most silliest questions, but I'm just like trying to get some intel in my own life and trying to relay it to like stories around my circle. But it seems like we're all sharing like similar, things with our kids. And so I think any question we throw at you, you just got a great answer for, man. That's dedication on you. Thank you.
It's just such a blessing to be here with you and to be on air, just to hear your stories. You make me laugh so much. Here's our people are leaving reviews. So if you have left a review on the Apple Podcast reviews, please do, or on Spotify, however you're enjoying this. One woman is saying, I'm a widowed mom and teenagers. She writes, she gave us 5 stars. So many hard things and emotions when parenting 4 teenagers with loss. I appreciate all the amazing ideas and the tips provided in this podcast. Here's another nice thing. This person, Journey Hike number 2, gave us 5 stars. He said, enjoy, help, learning, and this guy is not boring. This guy, his advice is practical. And for today's teenagers, this parent coach presenter is easier to relate with. But you know what? I got a great message from somebody. It said, Sean, I used to think that I enjoyed the podcast with just listening to you, but I really enjoy listening to Jordan, and you guys have great chemistry together. So I was like, that's my man. Right
That's
there.
Cool.
Jordan,
that's great. I'm just glad we're helping everybody, man. This is so cool. Like to see people actually responding and thriving and hopefully becoming better parents.
We got top 25 countries. We're like all around the world, from Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, Uruguay, Argentina, Spain, South Korea, North Macedonia, Denmark, Singapore, Japan, Austria, Malaysia, Belgium, Egypt, Netherlands, Sweden, Mexico, New Zealand, the United Arab Emirates, Germany, South Africa, Ireland, United Kingdom. I mean, this is just such a nice thing. So thank you, everybody who's enjoying this, and also that's following on our social media. My social media accounts are about at 1 million followers right now. And so it's just such a wonderful thing to be a voice and to be able to support parents out there. But Jordan,
it's good to know too that like we're not the only ones screwing up our kids in America. These other countries are also joining in with us.
Yes. Oh my gosh, man, it's funny. Yeah, and if you do want to be on the show, or if you do want to share anything, please contact Jordan and I on our Google Voice phone number, which is 916-365-2915. And please keep sharing with us on the podcast reviews or through Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. But we got an important topic to discuss and to give tools on today, my dude. Jordan is so good looking, but he shows up to our podcast recordings right from the TV studios at the Weather Channel. So he's wearing these beautiful suits, man. just looks so fancy. And I'm sitting here with freaking sweatpants on and shirts that, have like,
Hey, I will
wrinkles on
replace
them.
our outfits all day long. I'd rather be in sweats, man.
Yeah. I'm actually wearing short shorts right now, but sweats. But anyways, that's too many
Don't lie. You're wearing
details.
jorts. We know it.
Jorts,
So
jorts, jorts, man. No, I will never be able to rock jorts.
pockets out.
Did you ever rock the jorts,
No,
which are jean
never.
shorts? No
No,
way.
never wore the jean shorts. But I went to where was it? I think I went with my wife's brother one time on a guy's trip and went to the Indy 500.
Oh,
And so we're
okay.
sitting there in
Yeah.
Indianapolis, and I saw more jorts than I ever have in my entire life. It was a total style, and I was like, I could get on board with this.
Right. You know what? That's the thing with styles. Like some of our kids' styles were like, yeah, that's pretty good. And the other styles were like, never. Like, how are you going to feel when your 16-year-old son comes home rocking the jorts one day?
Hmm. Everything comes back, man. It's full
Well,
circle.
you might rage and get enraged if your kid's rocking those jorts, but that may or may not happen. But what we have right now is we've got a pretty serious topic because many people listening at home, they have a rage in their home, Jordan. I mean, their kids speak to them so horribly. They cuss at them, they call them names, they give them bad looks. And this is happening in so many homes all around the country and all around the world, way, way more than what we were like growing up, man. It's like a huge issue.
Well, I mean, in today's world, growing up is different than, let's say, your world when you were growing up or your parents' world when they were growing up, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like it's different. So is it becoming more of the norm? I hope not, but like I feel like society is transitioning from physical abuse or harm or like
Mm,
reprimand. When someone curses at you, what would happen back in the day? You'd get a hand across the face. Like
yep,
that is not
yep.
okay. That is
Fear of
disrespect.
parents. Yep.
Fear of parents. And now with this transition, parents aren't doing that as much. And so kids maybe
Yeah.
feel like they're getting away with it. And
Yeah.
maybe that's because the parents aren't actually enacting the true method of what needs to happen in order for their kids to stop.
So true. And we're also a generation of afraid parents. We're afraid of
Right.
screwing up our kids, traumatizing them. We feel handicapped in a sense or limited, like our hands are tied behind our back. We don't know how to parent because we don't know what to do. All while these kids are saying things like, I hate you to their parents. They're
Or
raging and
what
they're
about our
making,
teachers? Remember back in the day, the teachers would
oh,
get a whip where they could actually whip the
that was
kids.
not
Remember
back in
that?
our day. Maybe like
No,
some
I
old
said
school
back in
Catholic
the day. But
back in
but they
that
would
wasn't that
do
long
that.
ago.
No,
Yeah.
teachers would do that.
I think I went to Catholic school and elementary school, and I'm pretty sure at St. James School in Redondo Beach, California, they would paddle kids
Yeah.
back in the 80s. They must have stopped in the 80s at the Catholic nuns, right? You were thinking you dedicate your life to being in the clergy, you're going to be this sweet, sweet servant of God.
Right.
But like nuns, for some reason, they have this reputation as being these like kids, these ladies are going to slap your booty. It's like, yeah, I got into the nunhood because
Right.
I love teaching kids discipline and
Right.
slapping them. I
Right.
don't
That's
know. Nuns have
exactly
a
right.
bad rap on
I
movies,
know.
right?
I
Nuns
know.
are, I don't
Well, that's
really,
Hollywood for you, unfortunately.
I have met one nun before and she was super sweet. Do you know any nuns? Right?
I don't. I
Nuns
don't
are
know any
probably pretty
nuns. I would
upset of
love to
how
know a
they've been
nun.
represented
Yeah.
in the media. But we've got a situation. We've got kids that are raging and saying, I'm not going to school. They're making threats. Well, I'm not. If you do this to me, then I won't go to school. You've got rageful kids that are constantly arguing with their parents. They will not do something unless it's a negotiation, it's an argument. Some kids act like they're terrorists. They'll do things or take things from parents and they'll say, I won't give it back unless you do this for me, or unless you let me have my screen, or they will punish parents. I even have a client where this kid is the parents are working hard and to make adjustments with this kid. They went out to a nice family fancy dinner, and the kid was noticing that at the table right next to them, the family was enjoying some nice lobster, right? Lobster. Well, guess what the kid did? Well, the kid got home and the kid wanted his screen. He wanted X, he wanted Y, he wanted Z. And he said, look, I'm only going to do this to me for you guys unless you buy me a lobster. They're like, what? Just listen to us. Just freaking obey. And he's like, no, I want a lobster. So what the parents did, they made a deal. They're like, okay, we'll make you a deal. We'll buy you a
No, they
lobster.
didn't.
Yes,
They
they did.
did?
No, this is how parents are struggling, man, with the rage, with the anger, with the negotiations, with the threats, with
I
the
mean, we got to put our
meanness.
foot down. That's turning into, what is it? Veruca Salt from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Buy it for
Oh,
me now, Daddy. I want the golden egg.
dude,
Right?
that girl was so obnoxious.
You
All
can't do that.
those kids in that movie were kind of jerks, you know? Like it's kind of like a weird movie in a lot of ways, like a psychedelic thriller, but those kids were messed up. Even Charlie, man. I'm watching that movie recently with one of my daughters. Even Charlie broke the rules, man. They were drinking that bubble juice and they ended up floating up into the fan, almost got
Oh,
chopped
I
off.
forgot about
You
that. That's
know?
right.
Why are the kids so disobedient in that? Right? It's just a take on society right now. But all right, when you think of your kids being really moody, tantrum, rageful, angry, what is something that comes up for
I
you?
mean, the thing right now is if they don't get what they want. Now, there's a level to that. If it's
Okay.
candy, I mean, I can put my foot down, but if it becomes something like, for right now, whether it's that tech, like that one kid wants lobster because they wanted his tech, or, my kids are getting to the age where they're almost 10 and they really want a cell phone. And so, like, they're
Yes,
trying to do
telephone.
everything to convince me. And I mean, give them praise for doing the research and saying that they'll pay for it and they'll do chores. And I love that.
Pay
I
for a
love that.
$1,000 cell phone at age
Well,
9.
no, I'd give them a handy down phone. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, sure.
if you want to learn about it, you need to
Okay.
pay for it. I'm just trying to teach them finances with it. And they
Yeah,
do
yeah.
all this work. But the reality is, I know I'm not going to give them a phone. All the
No,
studies say we shouldn't give them phones this young. And so they have
no way.
big temper
They
tantrums,
do meltdowns over the phones.
meltdowns.
Okay. Can we hear more about that and how you and your wife are handling that in today's episode? Can I check in with you on that?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
I mean, the two stories that come up for me is right now the 18-year-old and the 13-year-old having big problems with their 6-year-old sister. The 6-year-old just really driving them nuts. So we're seeing some angry outbursts and some
That makes sense. I remember that with my sibling. Yeah,
right
man.
at
Yeah.
each other,
Yeah.
and it's just an evolution of what's the latest problem today's of today, because that's what parenting is, right? It's like it's just stuff happens, people change, kids change. But one story I want to plant the seeds for is um, I remember when my daughter was about 8 or 9 and she was raging a lot. She used to be a very angry, I don't know. I'm not going to label her an angry child. She used to have tantrums,
Where
outbursts,
does this stuff come from, man? It's
verbal
crazy.
abuse, mean things. Yeah, let's talk about. We could talk about where it comes from a little bit, but let's talk more about what we're going to do about it in today's thing. So, yeah, I mean, is it so are you ready? You're ready to help some parents here today?
Yeah. So when it comes to like our crazy kids that get under our skin, make our head bubble.
Stupid kids.
Oh my gosh. It takes everything in me to not want to grab them, shake them, and throw them on the couch. Okay.
That's nice. Throw them on the couch.
Yeah,
Hey,
at least it's a
it
nice,
could be
comfy couch
worse.
and just say, stop it. How do we diffuse our angry child or our angry teen? And how do we best coach them and getting this pattern away, stop them from raging without doing what I just said, grab them, shake them, and throw them on the couch?
Tip number one is something you hear me say quite a bit in our podcast. It's our number one job. We've got before you can even do these other tools, and I'm going to tell you what to do, because these tools I'm going to tell you with here today, everybody, are amazing. They're amazing. I'm not just here to coach you on how to get your child to diffuse in the moment. I want to give you some tools to really coach them out of this angry pattern forever, right? Forever. I'm going to give you tools that work in the moment, but I don't want you to be dealing with this angry, rageful burst 2 years from now. And I'm going to give you some tools to really reach the heart of the issue. So, Jordan, before I tell some stories about self-regulation and about how important it is, how we can calm ourselves down as parents, because how can we help our kids to emotionally regulate when they have deregulated? If we can't do this ourselves, what do you do for yourself, man, in those moments when you're just about to throw your kid on the couch? What do you do? What do you say to yourself? Give us one or two of your greatest tips.
I
What do
think
you do?
it's like the simplest thing. I try to take a deep breath and I try to rationalize where they're coming from
Mm.
and be like, I was there once too.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. You
But it's hard
rationalize.
when they're freaking out and they're not making any sense, and you're just like, Jordan, calm down. I just need to breathe for a second. Know that I was this same child at one point too.
Jordan, that's so brilliant. I want to think about what you just said. Do you realize what Jordan just said to us? He said, I look at my children and I see children. I see myself as a child. That's incredible, man.
Most people don't think about that, especially when I talk to people and they're like, gosh, I can't stand kids. And I look at
So
them like,
good.
you were
So
a kid
good.
too at one time. What do you mean you
Mm,
can't stand kids?
so good. You see them as they are. They're just little humans. They're little precious little babies. Whether they're 17 or they're 7. And you see yourself. Man, that is, you just took me back right there. You took me back.
Don't get me wrong, it's hard. I'll think about that for 10 seconds and they
Mm.
keep raging and then I flip a switch. But at least I have that 10 seconds of, well, they're
Your
sweet.
your career sounds really hard. You have to go on camera in front of thousands and thousands or maybe even millions of people, and you have to produce beautiful weather content. Even if you're in the middle of a family crisis, even if you're sad, it's like you have to act like you're happy at your job.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
that come natural to you, or did you have to work on that? And does that help you in parenting sometimes to kind of just like flip the switch, being like, I can't do this right now. I need to put this on the shelf. I have to be on air, or I can't do this right now. I have to put this on the shelf. I need to get ready to parent. Like, was that hard for you? Or does it come natural?
No, I think everybody's got to work at that. I mean, even if you're like a
Mm,
CEO of a company
yeah,
or you're head of HR or
yeah,
you have a project coming up that you need to present in front of, potential clients, you have to turn something off
yeah.
and pretend it doesn't happen and get back to it later. But the hard
Gosh,
part is it's still tugging at you.
yeah,
So, yeah, you're kind of like acting in a way and you're trying to
yeah.
make others not know what's going on deep down.
I have this little fantasy in my mind. This is embarrassing. I shouldn't say it, but I'm gonna
Say
say it.
it. What
I
is it?
am. I kind of want to be on the Tonight Show
Oh,
with Jimmy
geez.
Fallon, or was that a guy's name?
Well, it was Jay Leno, but yeah, it's Jimmy Fallon now.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel, yeah,
Because
that's
I think that this is two of the hardest jobs in the history of mankind. These guys have children themselves, and they have to flip that switch 5 days a week. They have to go on air to make people laugh, and they have to
yeah.
act on camera, like live. And it makes me wonder how are their parenting life? What's their family life? I want to go on the show not to talk about myself. I just want to ask them.
Yeah. No,
I'm
that's a
like,
great
I
point.
want to
You should
say
pitch that to them.
they're probably just amazing. I'm hoping they're just amazing dads, right?
I
That's
hope
what I'm
so
really
too.
hoping for. So you know what? Think about this. I want you to think about you being your own counselor. You have got to be your own counselor. How do you emotion coach yourself, everybody? If you were standing on the edge of a bridge and you were thinking about jumping, you'd be feeling hopeless, lost. You'd be feeling scared, full of regret and shame. And the greatest counselor in the history of mankind shows up, and you know this person, they know you. What would they say to you to try to walk you off that bridge? What would they say? How would they care for you? How would they coach you? That is the way we need to coach ourselves. That is the way we talk to ourselves, right? That is the way we deregulate ourselves. Because before we can help our kids with their deregulation issues, we've got to be our own counselor. What do you think about that, Jordan?
So while we're doing this, if we know that we are going to snap, so to speak, and we say like, okay, we don't want to snap, I need to be my own regulator, I need to self-regulate. Do I remove myself from the situation during certain times, maybe?
I think that coffee is a great way of looking at this. If you've heard me, if you're a regular listener to the podcast from one of these countries, then you've heard my love of coffee and the science of percolation. There's a big difference between taking a time out and avoidance. Yes, we take time outs to go percolate. to go do work on our own minds, our own mental health. And by doing that, we're modeling, you know, timeouts in our home, and we're modeling good mental health care. And then we come back. So yes, sometimes I'm just not able to parent. I'm like a freaking professional parent, dude. And I don't parent a lot of times because I can't. I can't flip that switch. I need to go take care of myself, counsel myself so I can come back and be this servant that I want to be and be selfless and loving and warm like coffee. Do you
That's
ever take
great.
timeouts?
Yeah, I try to. I mean, I try to take big timeouts and just check out and go do something outside, whether it's a
Okay.
long walk or go
Okay.
fishing or do something by
Yeah.
myself. But like in a moment, I'm trying to think in a moment where my kid is throwing a temper tantrum and
Mm,
my blood is beginning to boil and I'm noticing it.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe I take a little bit of a timeout. But then I come back and if that kid is still causing problems, then it's like,
Mm,
do I need a
yeah.
longer timeout?
Right.
Because,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah, man. You've heard me talk in other episodes. Is you think about timeout and parenting. What I love to teach is you time yourself out. Yeah,
Right.
there is a way of setting a boundary. Like here's a boundary we use in our home, Jordan. We say, look, if you want to be angry or you want to yell, that's fine. But this is the living room, so we need you to go outside or go upstairs. If you want to hit a pillow, please go hit them upstairs or in your bedroom. Right. This is the living room. We're not going to do this right here. So there's a boundary, but it's really about this. Here's something that I've learned that how I counsel myself. Here's a little secret I've learned. I I try to flip the switch in my mind, Jordan, and I say, you know what? I'm going to see this anger right now as a blessing, as a good thing.
Wow, that's
This
different.
angry child right now is a strong person, and they're letting me know, and I like that about them. I like that. They're a beast.
Nice. That's a
They're
light.
a
That's a way to
future
look at a glass
CEO.
half full approach.
They're a future CEO. They're a future strong mom. They're a future strong dad. They're a future strong person. They're not running away into a screen. They're not hiding. They're not people pleasing. They're not
That's
keeping
good.
secrets. They're letting me know where they're at. This is good information.
That is
This is
good
good
information.
information. I'd rather them do this than go up in their room and go on freaking some dumb screen where they self-medicate their pain with other
Right.
unhealthy kids or cut themselves or drink or whine or keep secrets. They're letting it out.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. I like the way where we started where I said I remind myself as being in that same situation and then while I'm in the middle of self-regulating, I'll take that approach and that makes me feel a lot less heated in that moment.
I mean, my 18-year-old daughter, she went through a phase which a lot of kids go through where she wasn't opening up and talking to my wife or I. And it was hard. I would much rather have that girl cuss me out, call me names, say crazy stuff than
Keep it
her
inside.
not let it out and bottle up inside, you know?
Yeah, a lot more tragic things can happen when they bottle it up inside.
Amen to that, dude. I mean, I'm going to say this is hard to say, but I'm going to say it to be helpful. Yeah, the kids that take their lives, the teenagers that take their lives, I can't speak for them. I don't. I'm just saying my opinion on this topic. Um, those kids are bottling. You know, those kids are bottled. The parents, they're not psychic. The parents can't read their minds. Maybe the parents missed the cues that their kids were hurting. But for me, if I had to choose between two painful extremes, the angry, rageful, mean kid, or the other extreme, the the quiet, bottling kid who's just immersing themselves in screens. For me, it's a no-brainer. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with the kid where they're letting it out. Stamen.
Man, I'm definitely looking at this differently than when I started this podcast of being the one who's angry at them for blowing up or having meltdowns. And now I think
Mm.
so many of us are listening are like, wow, Sean just completely flipped the script on that one. That's a good way to look at it. Self regulate, be appreciative that they're at least telling us something. See of their potential because of them, screaming at us or doing whatever it is. They're going to be powerful maybe in the workforce or when they get to be adults. What's the next step after this position?
So yeah, so far what we've done so far is step one, self-regulation. Is about talking to ourselves.
Right.
Jordan and I have given you some examples of how we talk to ourselves. Now it's ready to talk to our kids. And what do you say? Now the big question is, now that you've percolated, now that you've done some self-care, or maybe you're in the mood for some parenting, how are you going to talk? Are you going to talk out of your butt? You're going to say dumb stuff? Or are you going to talk at a place of love, a take of presence? Step number 2, validation is medication.
What are we validating? Oh, their feelings.
Whatever they're saying, man. Whatever they're saying. And they're going to be saying some stupid stuff.
Can we, yes, they are. Don't get me started on that. While we're validating whatever this dumb cause may be, I'm just going to say that right now because some of my kids, I'm like, really? This is what we're going to, okay, well, you know what?
I know,
Let's validate it. Okay, I'm going to come down to your level and validate
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But is it okay for me to say like, hey, you cannot act like that?
Well, that's not validating their feelings. That's
After, let's say I validate.
Yeah, well, you're skipping
and
ahead
then,
on our present.
oh, okay.
What you're going on as a future step, which could be what I'm going to describe as emotion coaching. But if you want to get to that place where
Right.
you're actually coaching, that would be an example of you're talking out of your butt at that point.
Yeah, I
your
probably
kid's
am.
Raging, and you're telling them you can't act like that.
Yeah.
I mean, hey man, that's not what we teach here, right? That's what we're all tempted to do, though.
Right.
See, that's
I
what
know.
we're all tempted. What? How about me? I'm tempted to. Here's some of my reactions. I do negative body language. This is like, and if you want to go deeper with my teachings, and sign up for a one-on-one with me or one of my courses, and I'll give you my assessment so you can better know yourself and know what your buttons, your reactions, your desires are. So here's what I do, man. I struggle with what I call negative body language. So I'll roll my eyes. I'll give dirty looks. It's like I want to shame them for acting this way. I'm not proud of this. Even though I'm saying this way.
Yeah.
Two, I do this thing called humor, where I'll giggle or I'll laugh in their face.
Oh, to make them feel terrible.
No, I don't know. It's subconscious. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, you're making them feel like an idiot, like a dummy.
Yeah, I don't try to do this. I'm not advising anyone to do this, but I'll be like, come on, really? Right? Oh my gosh. And it really has hurt my daughters. It's hurt my wife incredibly. Like, we're talking about this lighthearted, but this is some messed up stuff we're talking about right now.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, you're throwing shade, Sean Donohue. Don't do that.
Yeah, man. Shady stuff. These are the don'ts, do's and don'ts.
Right.
Validation is medication. Rolling your eyes is not cool, man. It's like poisonous.
I kind of will get silent. I'll just be like, I'm just not going to talk.
So, like, is it like you're standing them down? Are you glaring them? Are you stonewalling? Are you avoiding? Are you withdrawing?
Ooh, probably withdrawing. Yeah, withdrawing.
Yeah, withdrawing. Think about this.
I'll basically withdraw and relieve myself of parenting duties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some parents will pick up a phone. Think about this. If we pick up the phone in the middle of our child's angry episode, what message are we sending our child?
That they're not important.
There's 300 million apps. So if we do not pick up our phones or one of those 300 million apps, which one of them is podcast, Apple iTunes podcast, Spotify podcast. If we don't pick up our phone and we just do what I'm telling you to do, and we really connect with our child in their rage pattern, what message are we sending our kids?
Well, at their level, they're not going to realize it at that time. But the message would be, you're not running away from me. You're there for me.
Yeah, man.
You're my mom. You're my daddy.
Yeah, gosh. I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. Out of 300 million apps and billions of people, you you are the one. You are the most important person in my life right now. I'm
Right.
here for you. So one of the best parenting books I've ever read is not a parenting book at all. Have you ever heard of the business book? It's super famous, called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
No. What?
Okay,
No. Tell me about
super
it.
famous book. I actually am going to do a parenting video on this book. And so this guy, Chris Voss, Jordan, used to be the head hostage negotiator for the FBI. And he wrote a business book on communication. The dude would be the guy where, like, if you're like this crazy psychopath in South America and you kidnap some people or even a child, and then you call up the rich person, you say, I've kidnapped your child or your brother or your wife, and I need you to give me millions of dollars, otherwise I'm going to kill them. Like, they make movies about these weirdos, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then Chris would be the guy on the phone, and he'd have to talk to them for a living and try to defuse them. So you think, parents, you think defusing your 3-year-old is hard? You think dealing with your salty cheerleader 11-year-old is tough? Talk about this. This is hard. And I'm listening to this book, and I'm like, holy crap, man. This is a parenting book. All the stuff you're teaching is what I teach. It blew
Yeah.
my mind. It actually made me feel really good. I was like, dude, I'm teaching some good stuff, man, just like you, Chris Voss. But here's something that he taught, Jordan. He really taught about the beauty of validation. So these people would say crazy things to him, like, I need you to send me a helicopter. This is why I'm kidnapping this person. I chose this person because they're so evil. And he would validate their feelings. And here's something out of the book that I learned is that let's do some role playing. Can we do some role playing real quick? So just pick a topic. Let's go back to the screen topic and watch me validate your feelings. So can you pretend to be one of your 9-year-old twins and you're asking for a phone at age 9? So
Daddy,
action.
I really, really, really want a phone. Can I have a phone, please?
Okay, well, why do you want a phone?
Well, all my friends have phones, and I want to be able to talk to my friends.
Okay, so now you're at a fork in the road. You're going to go down the road and you're going to talk out of your butt, or you're really going to validate. Yeah, that must be tough. A lot of your friends do have phones, huh?
Yeah, like so and so has a phone. This person has a phone.
Yeah.
This person has a phone, and I just really, really, really want a phone.
You know what? I do know those kids have phones. I saw them here when they were here playing with you the other day. So that must be hard with your friends have phones and you don't have phones. That makes sense, huh?
Yeah, it's just it's no fair. They all get phones. I want a phone too.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see why you'd want one, and I can see why you. It sounds like you're, kind of feeling treated unfairly. Like you really want a phone.
Yeah. So can I get a phone?
Well, I'm not
Please?
ready to say yes right now, but I can see why you want one. Because I mean, phones are cool. If you had a phone, what kind of apps would you want to go on?
Well, like YouTube Kids. I want to be able to text them and maybe call them every once in a while.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I really like playing on the calculator.
Oh, you do? So he's like making up lies, playing on the calculator. Freaking liar, dude.
No, I'm serious. One of my kids do like playing on the calculator. That's serious.
I thought he was like, I like playing on the calculator, and I found
Yeah.
this new math app where I can practice my spelling and my math.
No, they like, and they like looking at the maps. I want to look at the maps to see where we're going.
It's so hard to validate our kids because they're going to say things and that we don't make sense to us. But here's what Chris Voss teaches in the book is when you can get the person you're listening to say, yes, that's it. You really understand me. Or yes, you got it. You know that they're really feeling validated. So when we were doing that role playing, and we're going to do it again in a second, if that's okay, you want to listen to your kids, whether they're 17 or 5, and say, yeah, is that really what you want? Is that really what you're thinking? Yeah, that's it. Well, yeah, I can see why you're feeling controlled. Are you feeling controlled? Yeah, I am feeling controlled. Of course I'm feeling controlled. Yeah, I can see that you're feeling disappointed in that. Are you feeling disappointed? Yes. Yeah, I'm feeling disappointed. Yeah, because you really wanted to go do this, but we're not doing that. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I hate you. You're the worst. So see, when we use this validation, it's going to help them to feel heard, to feel normal, to feel seen, and that diffuses the bomb.
I would be a terrible hostage negotiator because I'm the type of parent that I'm like, put my foot down. I want to put
Mm,
my foot down, right?
right. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you really want to do this? Fine. Why are we sitting here talking? Do it. You know what I mean? Like, but
Mm-hmm.
this makes more sense. It's like, I'm not a martial artist, but I have
Ooh,
seen a lot of movies,
martial artist. Yeah.
right? And so you've got different types of fighting techniques, whether you're
Mm-hmm.
attacking, right, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Mm.
throwing the blow,
Yeah.
or you're using the bad guys' weight against them and their movements against them. So you are almost like dancing as they're throwing a strike. Instead of
Right.
blocking it,
Yeah.
you're allowing them to throw that and move
That's
with
good.
them and use their weight against them.
You know who I've realized just listening to you talk has become very good at validation is the people that you talk to on the phone when you call Verizon, when you call AT&T, when you call
That's true.
Amazon,
Call centers.
when call centers.
Yeah,
These
call
people have
centers.
become professionally trained in the arts of validation or empathetic limits. So action
Yeah.
step number 3 is empathetic limits. Have you noticed they're very
I
empathetic?
Now that you say that, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that that happened." Yeah.
They're like,
That
I
must
can
be
see that.
hard.
Oh, it's very upsetting. Oh, it's very challenging.
Right.
Let me help you with that. But
Yeah.
why do they do that to us? Why are they so empathetic now?
Because they hear of so many people complaining all day. That's going to be the fastest way to get something resolved is to be
Ish.
empathetic and
Because
listen
it
to them.
works.
Yes, because
Validation
it
solves
works.
problems. It makes people feel heard and powerful. Sometimes people say, Sean, empathy doesn't work. Out validation, you're just appeasing them. You're just making it seem like this is okay behavior. No, we're
Mm,
not. Here's why it's called empathetic limits. Some people are great with empathy, but they suck with limits. Some people are great with limits, but they suck with empathy. It's about both. We actually just recently did 2 podcast episodes on this. Let me ask you a question, Jordan. Who would you say, put you on the spot, who is the best listener that you've ever met? Who in your life over your, I think you're 36 years old. How old are you?
yeah, 36.
In 36 years old, who was one of the best listeners you've ever met? Tell us the name of this person and why do you think this person's such a good listener? Can I put you on the spot?
Well, yeah, so you have different stages growing up. I've been with my wife since high school. She has been a great listener through that whole time.
Okay.
But being a guy, it's
Mhm.
hard to find another guy that's a good
Yeah.
listener, right? I mean, we're
Isn't that sad though, dude?
it's just the way we are. I mean, is it sad? Yeah,
That,
because
that
when I
men
have
suck at
something,
listening?
yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
it
it's not good
sucks.
for us. It doesn't. It's not good for us. That's for sure. Like, wait, when was your birthday again? Totally forgot. Um,
Yeah.
but you during high school were a great listener because you were different.
Me?
You were a little older. Yeah,
Hmm.
you were kind of guiding us. But like again, think of the guys I was friends with. I had some like football players. We're all kind of hard and
Yeah.
macho, and I had a buddy I'd go fishing with, and I he was a good listener too.
Hmm.
Um,
He
but you
was.
were a good listener because when it comes to guys, like when I listen, I want to give advice. If my wife is like, "Hey, I need to talk to you," and I'm like, "Okay, how do we fix this?" But like you have a switch. Maybe you've
Mm.
known this for a long time where you're like, I can either just listen or I can give you advice. And then
Mm.
you're even smart. You're like, you'll ask, do you want advice here or do you want me to just listen?
That what Jordan just said is actually a great parenting tip. Is realizing that as the more you listen, the more you're going to hear. The more you're going to hear, that means the more crap you're going to hear, stupid stuff. The more stupid stuff you hear, the means it's going to be harder to practice validation. The more harder it's going to be to practice validation, it means the harder it's going to be to practice empathy.
But the
And
hard part is when I'm listening and when you're listening and when everybody else is listening. I don't know if it's just a guy thing or what, but does your blood start to boil as you're listening to whatever the problem is, especially let's say the problem, let's just come up with something random right now.
Okay.
One of your kids, there's a bully and they're trying to, talk to you about a bully. And as I'm hearing this story, I'm starting to get super angry.
You are.
Right?
You're getting deregulated. You're pushing your own button. Yeah.
So that's hard because as I'm listening, I want to listen, but I'm starting to like, okay, I need to fix this now. I need to, figure out why my child is having this experience and I want to fix it.
If you were standing on the edge of a bridge or on a cliff thinking about jumping, taking your life, would the world's greatest counselor say to you, you need to do something right now. You need to fix this. You need to fix this. You better do something. You need to step in. You better get involved.
Well, yeah. I mean, what are they looking for? They're looking for something to be fixed right then and there, right? Or I guess maybe someone to listen. I don't know.
I think listening is one of the most loving things you can ever do for another human being.
Yeah.
Listening is one of the most selfless things you can ever do for another human being. Listening is one of the hardest and most beautiful things you can ever do for another human being. Empathetic limits. Imagine this. Imagine your child. They're very angry or they're very anxious. You know your child. Picture this in your mind as you're listening to this. Now imagine this is a metaphor that I've learned and many people have learned from Brene Brown. Imagine they've fallen into a big dark hole, right? That's hard. It's dark down there. They feel alone. And what are they doing down there? They're either on a screen, they're rageful, they're calling names, they're being mean, they're bullying, they're provoking their sister, they're acting out, they're deregulated in that hole. What are you going to do? You got a lot of options. Option one, you can walk right past that hole. You can pick up your own phone. Option two is you can shame them from that hole. What are you doing down there? Grow up. Grow up. Stop. This is so ridiculous. You're upset about this. You can shame them. You can belittle them. You can be angry at them for being in that hole. You can match their anger or you can override their anger. You can punish that anger. You can eye roll that anger. You can laugh at their face. You can do all types of mean stuff to your child or a little child while they're in that hole. Option three, you can do sympathy. Oh, I'm sorry. Sympathy is like a cheesy text to somebody. I'm sorry for your loss. Sympathy is not really that hard to give. Sympathy is something we teach our kids. You can easily give sympathy. It's not empathy without having a heart connection. You can try to send option four. You can try to people please them, appease them. You can send them down some ice cream. You can send them down a video game system. You can try to make him laugh. You can make him some cookies. You can make him 10 cookies. You can make him 100 cookies, some chicken wings, some fast food. You can go buy them a toy. You can say, don't be sad. Don't be sad. Why are you sad? This is what happens every day in parenting. Don't believe me? Just go to the park and listen. Parents do not like to see their child in a hole, and we are tempted with all types of stupid, unhealthy options. We could go down there. Option five, we can be their coach. We can be their pep talker. We can try to fix the problem. Bob Vila, Home Depot. What are you doing down there? Get out. Get on there. Here's what you got to do. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this. Let me fix your problem. You got to build yourself a ladder. You got to get out of there. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Right?
Yeah.
Any of that ring a bell? It rings a bell for me. I've done all that many times. Does any of those options ring a bell for you?
Yeah. The fix it one is definitely something. I mean, I just had a conversation with one of my kids the other day. We just had our car detailed, right?
Ooh, nice, dude.
It's been a long time.
2 9-year-olds and a 4-year-old, and you detailed your car.
We detailed our car.
Dude, that's such adult.
It's been a long time.
Life.
Yeah, it's been a long time,
dude.
So then we have this. We went fishing this weekend. My son caught a turtle. He's like, I want to keep the turtle. Long story. We don't have to get into it. We kept the turtle. Turtle did not do so well. We need to return the turtle back to the habitat. We went to return the turtle back to the habitat. We were walking on a dirt road. We get back to the car. What do the kids do? They get from the dirt road. They put their feet on the seats to hop into the back. Okay,
dude.
And instead of doing story or tip number one, self-regulation, I exploded. What are you doing? We just got the car detailed. what are you thinking? Putting your what? Oh, I'm so sorry. I
Yeah,
forgot. You
so
forgot this. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So then,
Who
so
wouldn't
then,
explode, man, at that?
right? I'm like, we
Right?
just got this
Dude,
detail.
why are
What are
you
you
doing me
doing?
dirty like that, you dumb
Right.
kids? I just detailed this thing. Please continue.
So then my wife was like, "Hey, just so you know, I talked to our kids about this, and they didn't appreciate you
Ooh.
yelling at them
Oh.
in front of their friend." And I'm like,
Mm.
I understand that. I'm not here to like be kind to them and just be like mushy gushy best friends. I'm here to teach them something. And
Yeah.
we've told them how many times not to do that. They
Yeah.
bring their house shoes in the house, they put it on the counter, like,
Right.
and I needed to get this across.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's me trying to fix it.
Yep.
And the
Yeah.
reality is I probably didn't do the best thing.
Yeah. Okay, it's interesting. Thank you for sharing that personal story. We can all relate to that story. Yeah, because your kids are 9 and they're 4, and they just had a great time at the habitat fancy,
Yeah, at the lake. Yeah.
And they bring some dirt into the car. They weren't trying to hurt you, were they? They weren't trying to be mean
No,
to
but we
you.
just, yeah, I
They
know.
weren't
I
trying to be
know.
disrespectful. They're just kids, right?
So this is a lesson for anybody out there. No need to detail a car. Don't clean our bedrooms because they're just going to make everything filthy again.
Oh, life. That's what I always tell people. I've told people this. If you have like a couch and you have children, you lose either way. Either you lose because your kids trash your couch, and now you have a
Yeah,
dirty, nasty couch. So people come over, that's embarrassing. That sucks. Or
right.
B, you did what Danielle and I did, and we had white couches for
Oh,
most
yeah.
of our lives. So we don't let the kids eat on there. We don't let them bring their shoes on there. So that we had to do all this coaching and teaching about how we don't mess up the beautiful white couches, because my wife's house, her stuff always ends up, it's so pretty. It's even on Instagram. You can go check out our house on
Yeah.
her page, Danielle.Donohue, and you can see our house on that page. So yeah, okay. So
I mean, you could be like the old school and just put like that plastic liner on the top of the couch and just have
old school, my
them sit
grandparents,
on that.
dude,
Yeah.
that is so old. Dude, say hell yeah if your grandma or grandpa put plastic over the couch. So tacky.
I
What if you
know.
lived like in a hot area and you're all sweaty and you're a freaking
Oh,
man? And you
gross.
go out from working in the yard and you're sweaty and you got to lay down and you got plastic on your couch. That's freaking tacky, man. Come on. Thank God
I
that
know.
style is out. Bring in the jorts. Here's action step number 4, because we can't do validation or empathetic limits or number 4 without first counseling ourselves. But I want to be really dramatic right now about action step number 4. Most parents do not do this. I mean, when I say most, I think we're talking 90+% of parents in my 24 years of coaching do not do this step. I am excited about this step. When I tell you about emotion coaching, this angry, rageful pattern out of your kids forever, I mean it. But you have to have this step. Super pumped about it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about action step number 4, the process of making amends. In emotion coaching your children to thrive in the arts of reconciliation. A little wordy, or was I a little wordy there? What'd you get from
Yeah,
that?
I need you to expand. I mean,
Okay.
I need you to expand on what that means.
What do we normally do? What do parents in our culture normally do if a child makes a mistake, acts out, brings
We bring up consequences. We say,
rages, says something
yeah,
mean?
you are going to be grounded. If you don't stop, then this will
Okay,
happen.
so we give threats. Yes, good. I agree. What else do we normally do? If they
Um,
rage, they get angry,
we try
they
to
lose
take
their
control of the
temper.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yep.
maybe have to, like, I was going to bring up an example when you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about all these tips, is like, what if we have an explosion that happens in a public setting?
Oh, so
What if we're
embarrassing.
at dinner? Yeah, and the kid is just raging and you're like, this is so embarrassing.
So embarrassing. Well, that would be for another episode, if I can put that on the shelf.
I was thinking I would just remove. I'd be like, "Hey, we're done. If this is how you're going to be, we're all leaving right now."
That would be a natural consequence.
Yeah.
All right. So those are all good. That's a good option, normal things. But let me talk to you about the art of making amends and why it is a missing piece of the pie chart for many parents. What most parents do, and I can't speak for you or for anyone, is that they force their kids to say, I'm sorry.
That's right. That is something else we do. That's right. Or write an apology note. Yep.
Or we don't force our kids to say, I'm sorry. We wait until they say they're sorry. And then our kids say, I'm sorry. And they may say a few words and they'll say, I won't do that again. And then we move on. This happens in close to 100% of homes. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, because we've addressed the situation. Are you saying we should come back to it?
I'm saying yes. Let me give you some tools on what do you do after your child rages, explodes, acts out, has an episode, has a tantrum. And let's say you did what you're supposed to do. You regulated, you listened to them spew all this nasty stuff at you, you validated it, you set limits around it, you were empathy around it, and then you move on. Are you just going to move on, or are you going to and skip this step, or are you going to do it? Here's imagine this. I'm in my living room. I was living in Concord, California at the time, and I about a month before this event happened, Jordan, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get my daughter into a gymnastics class. My 9-year-old daughter to go to this gymnastics class. Wake up at 5 in the wintertime. I go to stand outside of this warehouse building to get her into this gymnastics class. I see about 20 parents there at 5 in the morning. It was dark out. I'm freezing, so cold. And I look at all these parents, and what do I see? Well, they are prepared. They came with lawn chairs, blankets, coffee, headphones. And I show up there like a bozo, and I'm freezing my booty off sitting on the cold curb. Why are we doing this, Jordan? Why?
Well, you're doing it for your kids.
Yeah,
You're
we
there
love
to
them.
you love them.
Yeah, to get them into this class. Good news, I got her in the class. Now, to get in this class, she's in. She's got a cute little leotard, and she's doing great at the gymnastics. We're like, ooh, this is really fun. Your kids actually do gymnastics, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
super
son
cool.
does. Yep.
But on this class, you can only miss 2 practices. And if you miss 2, you're out. You're out. No money back.
Competitive.
And so at this time, my daughter Maddie, she had already missed 1. And so here we are, normal day, normal parenting vibe. Hey, get your leotard on. It's time for me to take you to gymnastics. Because I'm all about this gymnastics class. I worked hard to get her into it. And what does she do? Well, she's raging. She's what psychologists call deregulated, or she's flooded, and she's going around the house raging at everyone in the house. Her little sister, she's raging at her mom, raging at her nana, saying mean things to me. Man, if we had a dog at the time, she'd even be doing dog abuse. I mean, she's just being nasty, right? Can you imagine this?
Okay.
And so I remember my training. I check in with my wife to make sure that she approves of what I'm about to do, and I do it. You ready for this?
Yeah. What did you? Because you were probably getting really upset.
Hell to the yes, man. I tell her, look, honey, I want to let you know I don't feel comfortable driving you to gymnastics right now. How do you think a 9-year-old child handled that?
Oh, I bet she flipped and raged even more.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
I said to her, look, the way you're treating this family, it really hurts. This is not okay. And I tried to use all those extra tools. It wasn't working because sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes they just keep raging because they don't want to deregulate themselves. And that would be for another episode of how do you set boundaries if they're not in the mood of being a listener, and how do you respond in the heat of the moment. But what we're talking about here is a story about making amends. So what I said to her is, look, if you want to talk and make things right and talk to your nana, talk to your mom, I would love to drive you, but I just don't feel comfortable driving you right now. That did not work. She continued to rage and not do well, right?
Okay. I'm excited to see where this is going to go. So, as of right now, this would be her second
Yeah,
miss.
she'd be out.
She'd be out.
And I'd be out too, man, right?
Right?
So now she's asking me questions in a mean way. And I said, look, In this family, family comes first. It's more important than gymnastics. So if I were to drive you to gymnastics, I'd be sending you a message that gymnastics is more important than family, and it's not. So how you treat people really matters. So more talking, more spewing out of her mouth. And I said to her, look, you can go get a ride. I just don't feel comfortable taking you. Now she's 9. She doesn't have a phone, right?
Right.
What is she going to do? Borrow my BlackBerry and call up her
Now,
friend,
okay. Yep.
right?
Well, I was going to ask a question and interrupt you because I have a situation with one of my kids who might be like, fine, I'm going to go ask so-and-so, and would leave the house to go ask.
So yeah, that would be a different scenario. We can get into that later.
Maybe I would just not give that option if it was my situation.
For me, I already knew it wasn't going to happen.
You knew it wasn't going to happen.
A message here,
yeah,
about what's important in our home. So she tried to convince me to still take her, because that's what any child is going to do.
Yeah.
Try to convince
I'm so sorry, Dad. Please take me. I really want to go. I can't miss.
She's going to pull out all the tricks in her tool bag. But I coached her. I said, look, you know how to make amends with people. You know how to make things right. Because I had trained her on how to do that. I can help you if you want. But I need you to please go and make amends with the people you've hurt. And after you've done that, I would love to take you to gymnastics. So what did she do? Well, she calmed herself down and she went to every single person in the house to make amends, to show care for them. And she did it, and she was 9.
That's amazing. That truly is amazing.
We were only a couple minutes late to gymnastics that day.
And that's great because it's something she really wanted to do.
Let me tell you.
I always have to remind myself that, like, we're here to guide and not tell or not force, right? For them to figure it out on their own.
We're here to guide and not tell. Yeah. We're here to guide and not tell. Here's my thoughts, Jordan. I think that I'm sorry is so stupid, and it's such an overrated phrase.
Yeah, I could see why you would say that.
Like, if you ask 10 kids right now, how do you make amends? If you've done something wrong, what do you do? I think 10 out of 10 are going to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I would say that a lot of them will not even know any other ways of the arts of reconciliation. How do you reconcile? How do you show comfort? How do you care after you've hurt someone or you cross the line? Who's going to teach our kids how to do this?
Mm-hmm.
It's
hard enough for us.
Because no one taught us.
Yeah.
Our kids are never going to take a class on the arts of reconciliation. So who's going to teach them? Well, parents or teachers. Never home is a school. Here's a story. We might have done this. I might have asked you this before, but if one spouse cheats on another, like has sex with another person, and then a day later they say, I'm really sorry about that. I won't do it again. I'm very sorry. Would it be a wise decision for the person who got cheated on to have sex with their spouse that next day and just move on?
You're right. Absolutely not. You couldn't. You're broken.
Well, some people do, and some people could.
What?
Some people do, and some people could. I'm just saying, would that be
that's
wise?
A good example, because that would give the message of, oh, that's all it takes? Okay.
Mm-hmm. There's no healing. There's no process of reconciliation, right?
Yeah.
It just sends a message like, we can move on.
Right.
So what I see so many parents do is they just too quickly move on from their kids' rageful episodes.
So did you go back to that situation after she reconciled with all her loved ones and kind of bring it up again later?
I sure did. So in the moment, because this happened, my daughter's 18, this happened when she was 9. So it was 9 years ago, but I would even coach her in the moment. So here's some advice for anyone listening. You could say, hey, honey, thank you for saying I'm sorry. Can you, would you mind saying this to me? Would you mind looking me in the eye and say, how can I help you feel better? Would you mind saying that?
Oh, that's good.
we've all heard of the book, the five love languages, but Dr. Gary Chapman wrote another book, which I think is even better, and no one ever talks about it. It's called The Five Love Languages of an Apology. And in that book, he shows that there's 5 ways of making amends with people. There's 5 ways. And I wish I had the notes right in front of me. And I think we've even maybe chatted about this book before, but some of the ways include asking someone, hey, how can I make this up to you? That's one of the 5 ways. Making restitution. No, here's another one of the ways is tell me more. Just getting the person to talk about how it hurt them. So yeah, it just really hurt. I would love to talk to you about, what happened. Or I know you're really upset when we're having that conversation about the phones, but the way you were talking to me, it was really hard. And just having them go through this process of making amends. You got any things that are coming to your mind about how we can help our kids in this process? Think of that word, process. It's not a quick fix. It
Well, it
could be
makes us get vulnerable too, right? Like me just putting it on them, but asking that question of, hey, do you want to ask me what would make me feel better? Now it kind of makes me vulnerable too, and open up to them. So it just creates more of an open dialogue from both parties.
hey, you know what, son? Thank you for saying I'm sorry. Um, could you mind saying to me, hey, can I make this up to you? I think that would be really helpful. What do you mean, Mom? How can I make this up to
Right.
you? Do I have to
Or
say
just like,
that?
no, like,
No,
no.
no, you don't have to say it. I'm just saying I would love it if you were to say it. Okay, how can I make this up to you? See, what we're doing now is we're emotion coaching them on how to
Yeah.
make this up. Because if we can teach a 9-year-old how to make amends, if we can teach a 12-year-old, if we can teach a 17-year-old the process of making amends, how to comfort somebody,
Right.
right? Then what are we doing for their life? Because what true empathy is, we didn't even go back to that, is how do we go into that hole with somebody and we sit with them, we validate them, we listen to their pain. We don't build a ladder for them to come out of that hole, but we sit with them and we watch them build their own ladder, or we help them build a ladder. So now we're flipping it. Now we're in the hole and we're asking them to come in the hole with us. Hey, Mom, how can I make this up to you? Yeah, I've got a couple ideas. Would you mind helping me make dinner tonight? And then you could do the dishes afterwards. Um, yeah, I could do that. Okay, yeah. I mean, I would really feel loved and appreciated if you did that. Okay, hey, Dad, is there anything I can do to help you feel better? Yeah, I was gonna blow all the leaves this Saturday morning in the yard and do like 2 or 3 hours of yard work. Would you mind helping me with that? Yeah, yeah, I could do that. Hey, would you mind saying to me, how can I help you feel better? You know what? If you could look me in the eye right now as a and give me your word. Give me your word. Look me in the eye and say, I'm really going to work on this. You can really trust me to stop this. That would really mean a lot to me. What do you mean? You want me to say that to you? Yes. Yeah, I'd love for you to say that to me. See where we're going here of this process of building trust and healing. You know what would mean a
Mm-hmm.
lot to me? You just give me a big hug.
Yeah.
Just hold
Hugs are
me.
great. I love
Just
hugs.
hold me. Do I oh, Mom, gross. Do I have to? No, you don't have to. But I'm a woman. I love hugs. You know? You know what would mean a lot to me? What that, Dad? What? You know what? How about we used to go out to Chinese together. Can we just maybe go out to Chinese, me and you? Just hang out. Maybe watch a movie afterwards. That would mean so much to me. See what we're doing here? We're
Mm-hmm.
inviting them into our humanity, and we're showing them that parents have feelings too. Because if you just move on quickly, you're missing something very important in this.
Yeah.
Do any of those things that I just did, they strike a chord with your heart and your marriage or
Well,
your
yeah,
parenting?
it's hard because it makes us vulnerable. Like,
Mm,
it makes us actually think what would make us feel better. Because I bet most of the time we don't even know. Maybe the only thing that'll make us feel better is if they were to stop doing whatever they're doing. But then the reality is maybe that doesn't make us feel better because what we really want is to be close with them. And a lot of the examples you gave, yard work, dishes, it's with us. So spending time with them.
yeah.
And that ultimately could be the healing factor.
You know what it also is? I like that. It's also our own love language. It makes me think, what is our love language? I know for me, my number one love language, Jordan, is words of affirmation. So when my kids write me
Danny loves my
letters,
life loves that too. That's good.
yeah, when my kids write me letters or say things to me, it
Yeah.
really, really hits my heart. Do you know what your top one or two love languages is?
Um, what is it called? The power of touch, or
So yeah, touch would be one. Words of
touch. So like
affirmation, gift
when I
giving.
get a hug, or like
Hmm.
I love it when like my daughter will give me a big hug, or my son will just like hang out like in the bed, like crawl in bed and like
Yeah.
snuggle. Like I
Oh
just love
yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. Hey, man. We all struggle with anger. We all struggle with tantrums and episodes. We all struggle in our when we fall into our big pits of loneliness and despair, and it gets dark. We all struggle when our kids fall in those pits and they're angry, they're rageful, they're quiet. So this advice not only works for parenting, this works for friendship, this works for marriage. Let's be people of love. Let's be people who have the selflessness to jump in the hole when we see people hurting. And we don't solve the problem, we don't shame them, but we just sit with them. We self regulate, we validate because it's medication. We have empathy for them, limits to it, but they're empathetic limits. And if harm has been done, we invite them to this process of making amends. And if the pattern continues, well, then the process of making amends needs to be longer, right? It needs to be more, it needs to be double what it was the first time, triple what it was the third time. We can't move on quicker. And that is how you stop these patterns from happening. Jordan, I'm thankful for you, man.
That's so good. Man, I'm thankful to you. That was a great episode, and I just think so many of us have learned so much. Thank you for sharing those tips with us and just giving us real world examples of being a better parent, man. That was great.
I'm going to look at my children today when they have a bad moment or they fall in a pit, and I'm going to practice what you preach to us. I'm going to see them as little children, and I'm going to remember myself when I was a child.
That's good. Me too.
And I'm just so thankful that I've got three children who are strong-willed characters. They speak up, and they are imperfect, and they are harsh, and they are mean, and they are dysregulated, and they are weird, and they say stupid, crazy stuff sometimes. And I'm so thankful to have these three strong young people in my life. Close our
And I'm
show up by telling
thankful.
us
I'm
your
I'm
attitude of
thankful.
gratitude.
Yeah, I'm thank. Well, I was gonna say I'm thankful. I guess this could be my attitude of gratitude. I'm just thankful that I get to be a dad. I think that's
Mm,
such a cool gift,
yeah, dude.
and it's really fun and frustrating, but mostly fun.